You know what? Another thing that Jesus chose, a life choice that helped him experience joy and peace and fulfillment even in the midst of trials, many trials in his life, is that Jesus chose generosity over being stingy and selfish. And Paul talks about something that Jesus said in Acts chapter 20 and verse 35, where he said, "It is more blessed to give than it is to receive." Jesus knew that being generous would bring joy into his life. He knew that it would bring more joy giving than the joy that we have when we receive. And you know what? Recently I sat around with quite a few of my friends in the church, and we shared experiences where someone was really nice to us and where somebody gave to us something that was really special. We talked about how it made us feel. And everybody was like, it was just so encouraging. You know, it was so meaningful. And it was great to hear these stories. But these were stories about how awesome it was to receive something from somebody else. Then after that, we talked about, think about a time when we had a chance to give to somebody else. And how did that make us feel? And as people responded, they're like, you know what? It really does feel more encouraging. It's more uplifting when you're able to give and help and meet a need. Even though it's encouraging when someone gives, it's more encouraging when you're able to give to somebody else. And you know what? Science has demonstrated this as well. There's a Harvard professor who published an article in the journal Science. And the basic conclusion of this publication was that if you want to become more happy, become more generous. He found out that making more money, it might make you a tiny bit more happy, but for the most part, it doesn't really change your life. What he found out was when people became more generous, that's when they grew in happiness. It's like what Jesus said, it's more blessed to give than it is to receive. And Jesus certainly set the example. 2 Corinthians 8 verse 9 says, "For you know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, that though he was rich, yet for your sake he became poor, so that you through his poverty might become rich." And here Paul is trying to encourage the church in the area of giving and taking a collection that they were going to give to others. And he was just reminding them of how Jesus, this creator of the universe, gave up everything to come down and be a baby and a human and live a poor life here, and then ultimately gave everything. He gave his life on the cross for us. And so he's saying, yeah, you know what? For your sake, Jesus chose to become poor so that we could become rich. And he's calling us to follow that example. Jesus set the example for us to follow.